Hello students, today we will discuss about how a consumer behaves in the market due to change in various factors. Means, how does the willingness or desire of buyer changes according to the change in price of commodity, or according to change in income, or according to change in taste and preferences. There are so many factors which have impact on demand of a buyer. So let us, student, first we understand the meaning of demand. What is demand? Is there any difference between demand and purchase? There is a great confusion regarding these 2 points, purchase and demand. Both are not the same. So first let me tell you the meaning of demand, then I will tell you how it is different from purchase. So let us see what is the meaning of demand. Demand refers to the willingness. Listen this word, note this word, willingness of a consumer or of a buyer to purchase any commodity or amount of a commodity at given price and time. How much at a point of time you want to purchase, that is your demand. I am saying want to purchase. Want to purchase means just you indicates your willingness. You didn't purchased. So that is the difference between demand and purchase. Simply you can say that demand indicates that I want to purchase. आप कितना खरीदना चाहते हैं उस टाइम पर एग्जिस्टिंग प्राइस पर, दैट इज योर डिमांड. और जो आप परचेज कर चुके हो मीन्स यू जस्ट रियलाइज्ड योर विलिंगनेस, आपने अपनी विलिंगनेस पूरी कर ली, वो परचेज होती है. नाउ for the demand there must be 3 components. Demand has 3 components. One is you must have willingness. Okay. Second, you must have money. Third, you must be ready to purchase the product. Means you must be ready to part with the money, or simply I can say that you must be ready to spend the money. In absence of any one component, that will remain desire or dream. That will not be called as a demand. Okay, suppose there are 2 friends, Ram and Mohan. Okay. This is the summer season. Ram want to drink Pepsi. That is first component. Want to drink Pepsi, willingness is there. He also have 50 rupees in his pocket. Means second component is there. But he thinks that Mohan purchased Pepsi for me. मतलब वो कोल्ड ड्रिंक पीना तो चाह रहा है, पैसे भी हैं, लेकिन वो कहता है कि मोहन तुम पिला दो. That is not the demand. Because here, Ram is not ready to part with his money. He do not want to spend his money. So that is not the demand. Okay. Now, I have used three words just before this example. One is desire or willingness. Another word is dream. It's a very interesting concept. Economics is very interesting. And third word is demand. All three are very closely associated, but have different of one word. You have desire to purchase. You are willing to purchase a Ferrari, but you don't have money. Okay, this is the key issue for everything in this world. So you want to purchase a Ferrari, but you don't have money. That will be a dream. And if you have money and you are ready to spend, that will become demand. So there is a one step difference between dream and demand. And that one step difference is money. Okay. When we studies about demand, we studied into two forms: demand of an individual and demand of market. So we classify demand into two parts: individual demand and market demand. The demand made for a commodity made by an individual, like I am an individual. I purchase a pan of hair gel at the rate of 10 rupees per pen. That is my individual demand. Now suppose there are three buyers in the market: buyer A, B, C. If we talk about only A, that will be individual demand of A. If we talk about only B, that will be the individual demand of B. If we talk only about C, that is individual demand. Okay. Now, market demand. Suppose there are three consumers in the market to purchase a gel pen. So, market constitutes only three buyers. So, the total demand of all three buyers means demand of A plus demand of B plus demand of C, that will indicate market demand. Means demand for a commodity made by all buyers at given price is known as market demand. So when we just present this demand in the form of a schedule, that is known as demand schedule. What is the demand schedule? A schedule is just like a table which presents relationship between two variables in tabular form, in the form of rows and column. That is known as schedule. So what is demand schedule? Demand schedule refers to a table which shows various quantity demanded for a commodity at different prices. For example, let us come to the first table. There are two columns. One is represented by the red color. This is price of the commodity. And second column represented by the black color, that is demand for the commodity. Because here I am talking about an individual buyer. So that will be called as demand schedule of individual buyer. So what an individual demand schedule represents? It represents how much quantity of that product or of a particular product a consumer want to purchase at various price. That is a set of willingness. So buyer says, that individual buyer says that I will purchase X commodity. And what is the set of willingness? At rupees 2 per unit, I will purchase 10 unit. If the price they are 4 per unit, I will purchase 8 unit. If price they are 6, I will purchase 6 unit. If the price they are 8, I will purchase 4 unit. So this complete set of willingness, this schedule indicates the demand pattern of an individual. Similarly, as we have assumed that there are 3 buyers in the market, buyer A, buyer B, buyer C. If you want to represent the demand in the form of a table of all 3 buyers simultaneously, total demand we want to find out, that will be known as the market demand schedule. Price for all buyers are same, 2, 4, 6, 8, but the demand of each buyer is different. When the price they are rupees 2, buyer A want to purchase 10 unit, buyer B want to purchase 8 unit, buyer C want to purchase 12 unit. So the total number of units demanded at rupees 2, they are 30. This 30 will be called as the total demand of all 3 buyers, that will be called as the market demand. Similarly, at 8 rupees, buyer A want to purchase 4 unit, buyer B want to purchase 2 unit, and buyer C want to purchase 6 unit. So the market demand at price rupees 8 per unit is 12. So a schedule which show various quantity demanded for a commodity at various price by all consumer is known as market demand schedule. Okay students, so this red column, last red column indicates the market demand, means total demand of all buyers. Now third aspect, one thing I want to tell you before I start third aspect. In economics we analyze a concept in 3 formats. One is text, where you have to define the concept, where you have to tell about the concept in theoretical in the form of text. Second, you have to verify the same statement with the help of schedule. And third, same thing you have to describe or represent through the diagrams. Now I am going for the third aspect, demand curve. Simply you can say that the graphical representation of demand schedule is known as demand curve. Graphical representation of demand schedule. But we have to give a proper definition, a technical definition. There is a difference between meaning and definition. Meaning you can just tell in your own words, but definitions they are particular. So demand curve, the graphical presentation of relationship between different quantity demanded and at various price. So just now we have analyzed individual demand schedule and market demand schedule. It means their graphical representation will be also of 2 types. One graph will be related with the individual demand schedule, that will be known as individual demand curve. Another is related with the market demand schedule, that will be called as the market demand curve. So how we can just prepare this curve? There are 2 axes, y-axis and x-axis. On x-axis we will take quantity. This quantity word indicate demand. It is a universal word of economics. In which concept you will use the quantity, it will reflect the same concept. Means if you are talking about the demand, quantity will reflect demand. If you are talking about the supply, it will reflect quantity supplied. If you are talking about production, quantity will indicate input. Like that. So on x-axis we will take quantity and on y-axis we will take price. So according to schedule, the price they were 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. And the demand that was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If you are using a schedule, then you have to prepare the graph according to the value given in the schedule. Now at the 2 the demand was made by this individual buyer for 10 units. At 4 the demand was for 8 units. At 6 the demand was for the 6 unit. You have to mark the coordinates. Okay students, and when the price they are 8, the buyer want to purchase only 4 units. So you have to join these curve, you will get join these points, you will get a curve like that. And this curve is named as demand curve. Okay students, now every point in this curve reflect a combination of particular price, specific price and specific quantity. Like at this point the price they are 8, and at rupees 8 per unit the demand of the buyer of this buyer is for 4 units. Similarly, if you move from point A to point B, you will find that at point B price they are 2, and the demand of that commodity is 10 units. So every point will reflect you a combination of price, specific price and specific quantity. So whatever you have told in that schedule that at this price the buyer is willing to purchase that commodity, the same information we can find out by reading the curve. Now about market demand curve, that is horizontal summation of individual demand curve. You have two options. We have assumed 3 buyers, buyer A, buyer B, buyer C. The first option is that you can make individual demand curve of A separately for B, separately for C and separately for market. In first way you have to construct 4 diagram, but it is time consuming. We must be logical, we should save our time and energy. So it will be better to opt second. What is the second method I have used in this diagram? I have plotted all 4 curves in a single diagram. The price, similarly, these are price and this is quantity. Price, they will remain same for all buyer from 2 to 10. Okay. And quantity maximum you can check in the schedule, that is 12. So scale of quantity will move from 2 to 12. Okay students. Now first we will construct the diagram or curve for buyer A. At given price, how many units buyer A purchase? So that is demand curve of A buyer. It's okay. On the similar pattern, you have to take the price and demand for B. You will get the demand curve of B buyer. As you constructed this individual, in the same manner you have to construct it. No need to be confused. This is a table schedule where price are given for commodity. This is the demand curve of buyer A. This is the demand schedule of buyer B. This is the demand schedule of buyer C. This is the market demand. So in order to plot demand curve of A, you have to consider only these 2 columns, because you are plotting demand pattern of buyer A. So you will need not to consider B and C. Similarly, when you have to plot the demand curve of buyer B, you need not to consider the demand of buyer A and C. You will construct demand, you will compare the demand of buyer B with the relative price. In the same pattern, you will draw demand curve for buyer C. And in the end, you will take the price and total demand. You will plot that. It will be more flatter curve because it is the total of demand made by buyer A, buyer B and buyer C. Is that clear? So by adding the demand of all individual buyer, we get market demand. and when we plot this market demand, we got market demand curve. So I think second option is better, because it will save your time, it will save your energy. Generally a question is being asked, how is market demand curve determined? So generally students make a common mistake. They define market demand, they construct market demand schedule like that, they plot market demand curve in the correct manner. But do you think, is it the proper answer of this question? No. This line is the exact answer of this question. How you determined? We determine market demand by adding individual demand. So simply you must add all things are okay, no issue. But you will not get marks because you didn't give the exact answer of the question. So after just defining market demand, after just constructing market demand schedule and curve, you need to write this line: the horizontal summation of individual demand curve is known as market demand curve, or market demand curve is determined by adding individual demand. Okay students, now in schedule you have learned that buyer, suppose the price for a commodity they are rupees 2, buyer A want to purchase 10 unit, buyer B want to purchase 8 unit, buyer C want to purchase 12 unit. Wow! What is the reason behind it? When the price are same for all three buyer, why the demand is different? The price, they are same for all three buyers. Okay, but their willingness is different. Why? So price is not a single fact which determine market demand. Got it or not? Means demand made by an individual buyer is affected by multiple factors, various determinants. That may be income of buyer, that may be taste of buyer. When it is the issue of taste, price doesn't matter. If you don't like that product, you won't be ready to purchase, or you won't be ready to have that product even at zero price, because that is not according to your taste. And if any product is according to your taste, then price doesn't matter. Is that clear? So there are many factors or determinants which have influence over the demand of a commodity. So that is the demand function. What is that? The functional relationship between demand for a commodity and its various determinants is known as demand function. Because we are analyzing demand as an individual or as a market. So this function will be analyzed in two ways: as a point of view of an individual buyer, as a point of view as a market. So individual demand function means the functional relationship between demand of a commodity and various factors which have impact on individual buyer. So there are certain factors which influences, which affects demand of an individual buyer at one time. They do not have impact on the market. For example, my income increase. How will it affect your demand? No, because income that is related to me and I am an individual, a single person. So that will have impact on my demand, not on your demand. So individual determinants, they are price of commodity, P, own price of commodity. Own price means if you want to purchase X commodity, what are the price of X commodity? They will be known as the own price of X commodity. Price of related goods. We will talk about each factors in detail. Income of buyer, taste of buyer, expectations of buyer. So these are certain factors which affects the demand of an individual. Now, what are the factors which have effect on the market? So the functional relationship between various determinants which have impact on market demand and demand for that commodity is known as market demand function, and they are, students, like season. Season does not change for an individual buyer. Population, distribution of income. There are certain factors which have impact on the total market as a whole. And an individual, that is also part of market. So individual component or individual factors will also be added here. Own price, price of related goods, income of buyer, taste, expectancy. But you must need to understand one thing here. If the question is related with the individual factors, just you have to give only these one. And if the question is related with the market determinants, first you have to give these determinants. After that you can give it. In market you can give all factors, but your preference must be here. So students, these are the various factors which have impact on the demand of a buyer. That's why price for a commodity, price of a commodity is same for all buyers, but all buyers are not willing to purchase same amount due to all these factors. Now we will discuss each factor in detail. Own price of the commodity, P naught. According to this, demand for X commodity is the function of own price. Okay. And the relationship between demand for a commodity and its price is known as law of demand. This relationship is indicated by law of demand. What is this law of demand? Law of demand says that keeping other things constant, there is inverse relationship between price and demand of a commodity. Means if your price of any commodity rises, its demand will decrease, and if price falls, demand will increase. That is the inverse relation. Now come to the definition of this law. Keeping other things constant. What are these other things? These other things means factors other than own price. Because at one time we can analyze the effect of one factor only. So we assume that other factors, they will remain constant. It means we will not consider any change in other factors. Why we analyze one factor at one time? Let me give you one example. Suppose demand of X commodity increase, because the price of that commodity they falls. Same time, simultaneously, income of the buyer increase. Taste of the buyer goes in favor. Now you are unable to analyze that which factor contributes in increasing the demand. You can spend whole life, but you cannot find out, because according to price, buyer moves in different direction. According to income, the demand pattern of buyer change in different way. According to taste, when it's the issue of taste, there is no matter of income and price. So that's why we consider one factor at one time and assumes other as constant. And what are those other factors? Price of related goods, income of buyer, taste of buyer, expectancy, etc. And this is the assumption. These are the basic assumption of this law, that income of the buyer will remain unchanged. Taste will remain same. No change in price of related good. Size of population will remain same. No change in expectations. Got it? Now, the same inverse relation can be verified with the help of this schedule. In the first column, price are given. Read this table or schedule in the downward direction. What's happening with the price? They are rising from 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8. The price, they are rising. Now read the column which indicates demand. As price goes on rising, demand is decreasing. At 2 it was 10, at 4 it was 8, and at 6 it was 6, at 8 it is 4, and 10 it is 2. Means if you read this curve downward, you will find that price, they are rising and demand is falling. On the contrary, if you read this schedule in the upward direction means from bottom to up. What is the direction of price? 10 to 8, 8 to 6, 6 to 4, 4 to 2. The price, they are falling. And what's happening with the demand? 10 to 8, 8 to 6, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10. Demand is rising or increasing. The same statement is verified by this schedule. Now third aspect, demand curve. If you move from this A point to B, this upward movement on curve indicates rise in price and fall in demand. You can check on the scale. At point A, the price, they were 2. And at point B, the price, they are 8. See the demand. When the price, they were 2, the demand was for 10 unit. But as price raised from 2 to 8, demand falls from 10 to 4 unit. And if you move in downward direction, if you read this curve in downward direction, means you move from point B to A. This downward movement indicates fall in price and rise in demand. So that is your law of demand. Okay students, now the next. Assumptions I have told you. Exceptions. Exceptions means those circumstances in which law of demand does not operate. Means it doesn't work. That is exception. And the shape of demand curve is not negative but positive. Got it or not? Generally, till now, we constructed or we have analyzed demand curve like that. This is negative slope. If a curve move like that from left top to right bottom, that is negative slope. And if a curve moves from left bottom to right up, that have positive slope. So it means exceptions. There are certain situations in which demand curve is positive. Means exceptions indicates more will be purchased at high price. So what are these circumstances, students? Number one is Veblen goods. Veblen goods generally known as the status symbol. These goods are used by the people to show their status in society, that I am rich, I am purchasing costly things. It includes precious stones like gold, diamond and branded items. That is a show off. These items are related with the status. So when the price of gold in society in general, people thinks that as the price of gold or diamond will rise, less people will purchase it. No. With the rise in price of gold and diamond, more people purchase it to show their status in the society. Suppose, let me give you an example. If the price of gold falls to the level of iron, there is no difference in the price of iron and gold. Nobody will purchase gold because everybody will have gold at that time, and the difference between rich and poor will be vanished. That's why. It is the basic reason. So status symbol always purchase more at high price. Second is ignorance effect. Generally, if I speaks that this concept is related, this factor is related with the lack of knowledge, some people they would mind it. So actually I just that's why I have used sophisticated word ignorance effect. Generally this ignorance effect is nothing other but that is lack of knowledge. I can give you example. Computers, laptop or electronics, clothes, shoes. These are the most frequent items where consumer faces the problem of lack of knowledge, because we don't have complete knowledge of all of these. You will say, no sir, we have the knowledge of cloth, we have knowledge of this electronics and shoes, etc. No. Are you able to read the barcode? Now you can say that, sir, we can scan it. You can scan it. But do you think that every buyer know how to scan the barcode, how to read the barcode? Then how can you say that we are purchasing original item or duplicate item? For example, original and duplicate. Let me talk to you shoes of Woodland. A pair of shoes of Woodland is of 5,000, original shoes. And another duplicate copy of that pair of shoes is also 5,000. Now, every branded item, they have their own outlet, own franchisee seller, and you purchase the same pair of shoes from a seller who is selling duplicate items, and you don't have the knowledge, and you purchase these shoes from that seller who is selling duplicate item in the same amount in 5,000, and you are happy that I have purchased Woodland shoes in 5,000 because you were not able to read the barcode. If you say to that buyer, suppose you have the knowledge of the barcode, Yeah, or I have the knowledge of barcode. I will say that this is not the original piece. This is duplicate. He will try to manipulate me. No, I will not. I will not be manipulated. Why? Because I know how to read the barcode. I will say I will pay only 600 rupees of this shoe, and in the end he will sell in 600 because these are not original. So that is ignorance effect. Next is giffen goods. Giffen goods are those goods which have positive price effect and negative income effect. You need to understand it. These are generally low quality product, inferior goods, purchased by the poor, those who are very poor, and these are the basic necessity of them. Like a consumer is consuming bajra and wheat, keeping other thing constant, we should not consider the health issues or the season. Bajra is much cheaper in comparison to wheat. Suppose a poor consume bajra for 5 days and consume wheats in 2 days. If the price of bajra rises, what will happen? This poor need to more money to purchase the same amount of bajra. And income is fixed. From where he will arrange that amount? He will reduce the consumption of wheat for 1 more day. And just transfer money from wheat to bajra. By reducing consumption of wheat of 1 day, this buyer will shift this amount to purchase the bajra. Okay. What happened? What will happen now? This buyer have wheat only for 1 day. It means this buyer need to increase the consumption of bajra for 6 days. And if price of bajra falls, he will just transfer the resources. Resources means money from bajra and will purchase more of wheat. Consumption of bajra will fall down. That is giffen goods. One more thing, all giffen goods are inferior goods. Means all giffens are low quality product. But all inferior goods are not giffen goods. Means all low quality products are not very low quality product. If we talk about the low quality, there are two type of quality, low and very low. So the very low is giffen goods. That's why it is said that all giffen goods are inferior goods, but all inferior goods are not giffen goods. There are certain other factors which you can add in the exceptions: war and emergency, economic depression, like demonetization. Okay. So these were the exceptions where law of demand does not work. Now students, causes behind law of demand. Why people purchase more at less price or less at high price? One factor is law of diminishing marginal utility. You purchase 1 unit in 10 rupees. That unit gives you satisfaction equal to, suppose, let me give you some unit to your satisfaction. This unit gives you satisfaction of 60 units or utils. Utils is the unit of satisfaction. Like meter is the unit of length. Kilogram is the unit of weight. So I have allotted utils as a unit of satisfaction. Now this law says that What is the basic definition of this law? As you increase consumption of any product, your satisfaction increases. And the psychological value, which is known as utility, that falls. Let me give you one example. These are very hot days nowadays. You just came back from the market at home. You are thirsty. Obviously, you need a glass of chilled water. You got it. Whatever the satisfaction you will realize from the first glass, second glass will not give to equal that. Second glass will give you less satisfaction. And after 3 glass, the desire for money will be over. Now it's okay. I am satisfied. There is no need of water at that point of time. I am not talking of the whole day, but at that time. So buyer used this psychology here. First unit gives him satisfaction of 60 utils. He pays for that 10 rupees. And second unit gives him less satisfaction equal to 40 utils. Less satisfaction will be given by the second unit. Buyer will say that the first unit who gives me 60 utils of satisfaction, for that I have paid 10 rupees. Second unit gives me less satisfaction. Why should I pay the same price for that? I will pay less price for that. So this is the first reason. Second, income effect. Here income effect means purchasing power. Suppose you want to purchase mango. You have 100 rupees in your pocket. Given income with you is 100 and the price of mango is equal to 50 per kg. Your purchasing power will be equal to 2 kg. That is your real income. Means how much you can purchase at given price and given income. That is your initial situation. Okay. When you enter into the market, you found that price are equal to rupees 100. What will you do? Now you won't spend another 100 rupees. You will purchase only 1 kg. Because purchasing power of 100 rupees has been decreased. So price they are high, your demand is low. There may be another situation. As you visit to the fruit seller, you found that price they are only rupees 25 per kg. You will not save money because you have allotted 100 rupees for the fruit. Now what will you do? Now you won't purchase 2 kg because you have to spend whole 100 rupees. That is your budgeting. That is the habit of consumer. You will say, okay, give me 4 kg. Now watch it. With the fall in price, demand increase. This is income effect. Next is substitution effect. This effect works only in that case when a product have any substitute. Like toothpaste. There are many types of toothpaste they are available in the market. All are toothpaste but produced by different companies. The functions of all toothpaste is same. So all are substitute of each other. Like Pepsi and Coke. Both are cold drinks. And 98% people they don't have the difference. They don't know the difference between Pepsi and Coke. They just mean to consume. They have to consume. Suppose the price, and that's why both are close substitute of each other. And suppose the price of both are same, and the consumer also same. Means demand for both product is also same. In order to earn more profit, Pepsi thought that I should increase the price by 1 rupees. The buyer will say, when we are getting the same product and same satisfaction from Coke in 20 rupees, why we have to purchase the Pepsi? So some buyer will shift from Pepsi to Coke. Sorry. As a result, due to shifting of consumer from Pepsi to Coke, the demand of Coke will fall down 40 to 29. On the contrary, if the price of Pepsi decreased to the 19, the consumer of Coke will say the same thing. And some consumer, they will say that when Pepsi is selling the same product in 19 rupees, why should I purchase in 20 rupees? So buyers from Coke will shift to the Pepsi, and the demand of Pepsi will increase to the 50. Suppose 10 buyers left to shift their consumption from Coke to Pepsi. So that is the third reason. Fourth is entry of new consumer. There are certain or some marginal consumers. Marginal consumer, just those who are making adjustment with the consumption of any product. With the change in price, some marginal consumer enter into the market. Number of buyers will increase, or existing buyers, some will exit from the market. Demand will decrease. So when the price of a commodity falls, new group of consumers enter into the market. Number of buyers of that product will increase and the demand will increase. With the rise in price of that product, those who are marginal consumers, who were just adjusting anyhow, they will left the market. Means stop consumption of that product. Number of buyers will decrease, demand will decrease. Okay. Multiple use of the commodity. Last factor is multiple use of the commodity. Like milk. Milk have many uses. For direct consumption, for tea, coffee, curd, cheese, butter, sweets, so many uses this product have. If the price of milk increase or rises, what happens? Consumer decide to decrease the use. He will decide to stop consumption of coffee. He will decide to have butter. He will decide not to have butter. He will decide not to use milk in cheese. Now, only three options, three use left: direct, tea, curd. When with the rise in price, usage falls. It means requirement will fall. Consumer will need less milk. Demand for milk will fall down. On the contrary, if price falls, consumer will say that no need to purchase from the market. All items which are to be made up from the milk, they will be made at home. It will be used for direct satisfaction. It will be used for tea, coffee, curd, cheese, butter, sweets. Everything will be made at home. What will happen? Use will increase. Requirement will increase. As a result, demand will increase. So these are the certain factors, students, which are responsible for the law of demand, means responsible for the inverse relationship between price and demand. Now the last point, slope of demand curve. Slope you have read in maths or mathematics. Slope indicate direction of change. In microeconomics, if you want to understand easily the concept, you must know how to read the curve and what is the meaning of that curve. And the meaning depends on the slope. Generally we says that perpendicular by base. That is the slope. What is slope? Slope measures the direction of change between given variables. Here given variables are quantity of demand and price. Suppose you are at point A, students, give your attention, and you move from A to B. As you move from A to B, the price will fall from P1 to P. That is your change in price. Change in price is always calculated from by deducting initial value from final value. Final price, they are P, initial price, they were P1. So this gap is delta P. And the value price falls, minus sign will be put here. This minus sign will indicate you that price has been fallen. But due to fall in price, your demand increased from Q1 to Q. And now you have to find out delta Q. Final demand is Q, initial demand is Q1. Because demand has been increased, so the value of delta Q will be positive. This segment indicates delta Q. Now see, A, C. So according to this formula, the slope will be perpendicular means delta P, that is minus delta P. Minus delta P means price has been fallen, and base is delta Q, that is positive. That is positive. So the slope of this demand curve is minus delta P by delta Q. Mathematically, according to diagram, slope, it may be calculated as the value of perpendicular is AC, which is negative because the value have been decreased, and base is BC. AC is equal to minus delta P and BC is equal to delta Q. Suppose your price, they falls by 4 rupees per unit and your demand is increased by 8 unit. So the slope will be equal to minus 1 by 2. Okay, it happens when value of one variable decrease, value of other variable will increase. This negative slope indicates inverse relation between given variables. Now you can just frame theory. If you know this thing, you can frame the theory. Slope is negative, it means given variable are inversely related. Means the price and quantity are inversely related. It means if two variables have inverse relation and the given variable are price and quantity, they will have inverse relation. The theory will be that with the rise in price, demand will fall down, and with the fall in price, demand will increase. You can frame your law of demand. So this is the importance of slope. 90% microeconomics based on the slope. If you are able to identify the slope, whether it is negative or positive, you can explain the relationship between these variables. And that is the theory. Student, it was about the law of demand. Now it's over. If you have any query, you can write on my personal window. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.